The Ashen Armor of Lord Kuroda Masanori. Prologue. The Bell That Rang Without Wind. On the northern edge of the Kiso Valley, where cedar forests climb like dark waves toward the clouds, there stands a ruined watchtower called Aoi no Tsuka. No road leads to it anymore. Moss swallows the stones, and vines stitch the walls shut, as if the mountain itself wished to forget the tower ever watched the pass. Yet on nights when the moon thins to a silver hook, and the valley fog breathes upward, a bell rings from the ruin. There is no bell there. The sound comes anyway. One deep note, then another, measured like a heartbeat. Farmers who hear it close their shutters. Woodcutters lay down their axes and hurry home. Travelers who hear the bell feel a cold hand brush the nape of the neck, and though they do not know why, they bow toward the mountain and whisper a prayer. They say the bell belongs to Lord Kuroda Masanori, a samurai who died without death, a ghost who still wears his armor, waiting for a dawn that never comes. This is his story. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Learned Stillness. Masanori was born during a winter so quiet that snow seemed to fall without sound. His mother, Lady Hushi, would later say that the world held its breath when her son first cried. His father, Kuroda Taketsugu, was a retainer of moderate rank, neither famous nor poor, serving a lord whose lands guarded the mountain passes. From the time Masanori could walk, his father taught him stillness. Speed comes from stillness, Taketsugu said, kneeling across from the boy in the frost-hardened courtyard. Anger comes from noise. A samurai must be quiet inside. Masanori learned to kneel until his legs trembled and then learned not to tremble. He learned to watch falling leaves without following them with his eyes. He learned to listen to the scrape of wind on armor lacquer and tell the direction without looking. At night, he slept beside the hearth and dreamed of bells. Chapter 2. The Armor of Ash. When Masanori was 15, his father gave him armor. It was old, older than Taketsugu himself, passed down from a fallen line whose name had been erased after a failed rebellion. The lacquer was blackened like cooled ash, and the crest had been deliberately scratched away. The helmet bore horns broken at the tips, and the mask's mouth was fixed in a grim line, neither smiling nor snarling. "Why give me cursed armor?" Masanori asked, though he bowed deeply. Taketsugu's eyes were dark. Because armor remembers, and because forgetting is worse. When Masanori first wore it, he felt heavier than the steel should have allowed. The armor did not pinch or chafe, yet it pressed upon his breath as if it expected something from him. That night, he dreamed of standing alone in a field of burned grass. Bells rang in the distance. A voice behind him whispered, "Do not turn until you are ready to die." He woke with frost on his lashes. Chapter 3. The Watchtower. Aoi no Tsuka stood at the narrowest throat of the valley. From its height, one could see 3 days' travel in clear weather. It was a lonely post, assigned to men who were trusted but not celebrated. Masanori volunteered. Taketsugu said nothing, only bowed and tied his son's armor cords himself, fingers lingering on the knot at the throat. "Remember," he said quietly, "a watchman does not look for glory, he looks for truth." The tower was colder than Masanori expected. Wind threaded through its stones, carrying the smell of pine and old iron. He settled into routine, watching the pass, counting clouds, noting the calls of birds. On the 7th night, the bell rang. It came from nowhere and everywhere, a single note that rolled through the tower stones and into Masanori's bones. He stood, hand on sword, heart steady. "Who goes?" he called. No answer. The bell rang again, closer. Chapter 4. The Woman in White. She appeared at dawn. A woman stood below the tower steps, wearing white mourning robes. Her hair hung loose, hiding her face. She did not move when Masanori descended. "My lady," he said, keeping distance, "this road is closed." She lifted her head. Her face was pale, beautiful, and marked by sorrow so deep it seemed carved there. "I am lost," she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried. "My husband awaits beyond the pass." "There is no one beyond the pass, only forest and rock." She smiled sadly. "Then I am truly lost." When Masanori looked again, she was gone. The frost at his feet was unbroken. That night, the bell rang 3 times. Chapter 5. Rumors of War. Messengers came with news. Rival clans stirred. Alliances cracked, and the valley would soon see blood. The watchtower's purpose sharpened. Masanori sent reports faithfully. He watched banners move like slow storms at the edge of sight. At night, he cleaned his armor, though it never showed rust. The bell rang more often. Each time, Masanori felt the armor grow heavier, as if it drank the sound. On the 12th night, he dreamed of the woman in white. She stood beside a river that flowed upward into the sky. "Why do you ring the bell?" he asked her. "I do not," she said. "It rings because you listen." Chapter 6. The Betrayal. The attack came at dusk. Not from the enemy clans, but from within. A banner Masanori recognized approached the pass under the signal of truce. He descended to meet them, armor dark against the snow. Their leader bowed too deeply. Steel flashed. Masanori fought as his father taught him, quietly. He did not shout. He did not rush. He cut through the first line, then the second. Arrows struck stone where his head had been a breath before. But betrayal multiplies. From the trees came more men. The banner fell, revealing another crest beneath. Masanori realized then that the valley had already been sold. A blade slid between the plates of his armor, under the arm. The bell rang. Chapter 7. Death Without Ending. Masanori fell. Snow drank his blood and turned pink, then brown. The men fled, fearing pursuit that did not come. Masanori lay alone, breath shallow. The armor pressed him into the earth, heavy as a promise. The woman in white knelt beside him. "Is this death?" he asked. She shook her head. "This is duty unfinished." The bell rang, loud enough to crack stone. Masanori stood. His wound was gone. His breath did not mist. The world was sharp and cold and painfully clear. He looked down and saw his body still lying in the snow. Chapter 8. The Ghost Warden. Masanori returned to the tower. Days passed, or something like days. The sun rose and set, but he felt no hunger, no fatigue. Travelers avoided the pass. Armies diverted, uneasy. Those who dared approach saw a samurai in ashen armor standing atop the tower, unmoving. Some swore his eyes glowed like coals under snow. At night, the bell rang, calling the lost and the guilty. Masanori did not sleep. He watched. Chapter 9. The Father's Return. Years later, Taketsugu came. His hair was white, his back bent, but his eyes were the same. He climbed the ruined steps and stopped before the armored figure. "Masanori," he said. The ghost inclined his head. "I told you stillness brings speed. I did not tell you it brings eternity." Masanori felt something crack within him, like ice underfoot. "I failed," he said. Taketsugu shook his head. "You watched, you warned, others failed." The old man bowed deeply. When he straightened, he was alone. The bell did not ring that night. Chapter 10. The Unforgiven. Not all who came were innocent. A warlord who had ordered the betrayal rode into the valley years later, fleeing enemies of his own making. He laughed when his men spoke of ghosts. At the tower, the horse screamed and threw him. Masanori appeared before the warlord, sword drawn. "I am already dead," the warlord sneered. "So am I," Masanori replied. The bell rang. In the morning, the warlord's armor lay empty, filled with ash.
Chapter 11. The Weight of Waiting. Centuries passed like falling leaves. The tower crumbled, the forest reclaimed stone. Empires rose and fell beyond the valley. Masanori remained. The woman in white visited less often. When she did, she stood farther away. "You may go," she told him once. "Go where?" She did not answer. The armor grew heavier.
Chapter 12. The Child Who Heard the Bell. One winter, a child wandered into the valley. She was small, wrapped in rags, fleeing a village burned by men who no longer remembered why they fought. She heard the bell and followed it, though fear shook her steps. Masanori watched her from the tower. She looked up and bowed. "Sir Ghost," she said, "will you keep them away?" "Yes," Masanori said. He stood at the pass all night. No pursuers came. At dawn, the child was gone. In the snow where she had slept lay a small bell, cracked but whole. The tower felt lighter.
Chapter 13. The Last Dawn.
The woman in white returned when the cherry trees bloomed in the valley below. "It is time," she said. Masanori looked at the pass one last time. The world no longer needed watching. He removed his helmet. For the first time, he felt wind on his face. "What will remain?" he asked. She smiled. "A story and a warning." Masanori set the armor down. It turned to ash, scattering on the breeze. The bell rang once. When the sun rose, Aoi no Tsuka stood empty.
Epilogue. The sound that lingers. Travelers still speak of a bell in the Kiso Valley. They say it rings when betrayal walks the road, or when the lost need guarding. And sometimes, when the night is very quiet, a samurai can be seen bowing to the dawn, finally at rest.